What is good, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you're listening over on YouTube, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening to my podcast, Assume the Position, over on Spotify, thank you so much for being here. Make sure you follow the podcast for more exclusive content. So, today's video, you guys, I'm really excited to share this with you because I've been trying to figure out how to express more of what I've been talking about recently with allowing your desires to unfold for you without doing all this work in trying to get something to manifest. And I have these two success stories from clients that I've been working with for quite some time, and I want to share the effortlessness of one of these stories because I feel like if I have a success story to share, some of you guys can really identify with this client here. So I know that it will help you kind of see what's going on in your own life. And I also have an update from one of my videos I did I want to say about a month back, where it was my friend who manifested the royal treatment, the princess treatment. I have a little update from that, but we've got to talking this weekend. I talked with both of these clients and I just wanted to ask them, how did they go from wanting to having? So how did they get out of that wanting phase of trying and getting into that having? And there was a lot of similarities in this, and a lot of similarities that I see in my own way of how I manifest effortlessly. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to go from wanting to having towards the end. But let's get into these success stories. So this one client I have not spoken on this client because I've just been monitoring her progress when it comes to like her results. They've been so effortless and amazing. But I've worked with this client for about 6 months, but we worked together for a month fully about 5 months ago. And she just does random phone call check ins or email check ins here and there. And this story is really amazing because a lot of us, we think that we should get so like, I know exactly what I want. Like, she didn't know fully exactly what she wanted, but she ended up what she got or what she's receiving now is more than what she really thought could be possible for her. So when she first came to me, she really wanted to manifest her specific person back. She had a story going that she was almost 50 and she's older. She wants to have kids and she felt like she doesn't look young. She just felt like she wasn't in her best shape, her prime, and she just wasn't happy in her overall life. And her her relationship at that time, he wanted to basically end the relationship, but she was so focused on trying to get him back and doing all the things. And she had so much anxiety, so much just fear around this situation that if she was to lose this SP, that she wouldn't know what to do with her life pretty much. So she centered her life around this relationship and this specific person. And it just had so much resistance throughout this whole story. So when we first worked together that first week, we had about a 2 hour call where I was really sharing with her how all of this adding that she was doing to try to make something happen was just adding another layer or another veil on top of another, that she just felt like she couldn't get out of the story. And so I asked her, what if you just stopped? What if you just stopped trying to add? What if you just stopped trying to figure things out? What would happen? And with her, I felt like her practicing non reaction was going to help her more than doing techniques and adding things, because she was so confused and so overwhelmed and just really emotional about everything. She had such a grip on this story. And remember in my video yesterday, I talked about how there's no safety in one particular story or one particular illusion or just waiting for things to change. There's no safety in that. And you're more safe when you get out into the sea of possibilities and allowing things to exist. So for her, one of the things that we really wanted to work on or to I at least wanted her to see, was the fact that she didn't have to change anything, but it was who she was being that she wanted to abide in. So she trusted the situation. She said, "You know what? I give myself a few months," because one of the things that she said was really funny. She said, "I know what this can get me, so I know that I can come back here anytime I decide that I want to feel safe. I know what this is like. I know that I can come back here and be stressed out all over again if I want to, but I'm really going to give myself the chance that what if I don't know exactly how everything will manifest? Or what if I don't know fully what my life can bring?" So she had this openness finally when she just accepted the fact that she could not figure out how she was going to get her SP back. And with all the things she was doing, it just felt like that she was getting further and further away from her goal. But what it really was there was more implied separation and more implied things that she felt that she needed to do in order to get him back. So when I talk about practicing this non-reaction, you guys, it really is just to allow all things to exist with not picking up anything, without trying to say that the way that they broke up or all those things that shouldn't have happened, or trying to change that version of yourself, or trying to change the situation around, or the fight around, and all these things, trying to manifest them back so that way you can fix that version instead of choosing who you're going to be. And so what she did was she just decided in herself who she wanted to be, and that was someone that was always chosen, always prioritized. And she just kept her focus more inwardly because she was so externally focused. And after I shared with her what I share with you guys all the time about the fact that you can't manifest things from forms out here in the 3D, that whatever you're seeing in the 3D can't give you anything, but it's the fact that you're the source, and you putting your light on something is bringing a storyline to life, or bringing anything in the 3D form and light, because you're giving it your attention and your energy. So she understood that if she just was to give herself that energy and to really light herself up in her world, her inner world up with her imagination, coming from already being the person that she wanted to be. So she decided to focus on her. And she said, as soon as I let go of that whole timeline and just trusted, what I really realized was I was holding on to my old SP, not because I really wanted to be with him, but I wasn't ready to let go of the old me. And that's what she said the second week that we had our session. And she realized that she didn't want to let that old version of her go, because she didn't know who she would be without that story that she's held on to so many years. And she was trying to figure out how to change it. But she was like, what if I just allowed it to be there, and to turn away from it, and to assume that I've always been the person that was desired and loved and chosen? After trying to feel that way for so long, what if I just stopped trying to feel it? And that was the key here. What if she just stopped trying to feel it, stopped trying to be it, and realized that she already was? So that's what she did. She let go of him. She realized that, maybe if we do come back together, that would be amazing. But if we don't, that's fine, because I'm realizing that I wasn't ready to make the movement myself and be the person that I desired to be. So, with her keeping that inner focus in her life, it's been months. It's been about 5 months, 6 months since we've really worked together consistently, but we've been talking throughout that time. And the way that her life has unfolded has been amazing, just from holding her attention on herself and not trying to add anything or trying to do a certain technique or have all these conditions. She removed all the conditions as to how a SP was going to come back, or even if he would come back. And she just said, who would I be if I chose the best version of myself? And so she just got into this space of deep trust with her inner world and allowed her ideal to unfold. And so what happened since then, this practicing of non-reaction, although she did have those moments where she was upset and the 3D was showing her what she didn't want, she still had the emotions, but she still chose at the end of the day to be who she wanted to be without all this judgment. And so ever since then, you guys, she said that she started doing things, only the things that she wanted to do in her life. So she stopped feeling obligated to do things for others, stay late at her job, and do all these things because she was just choosing herself. This whole time she was choosing herself. So she stopped, just saying yes to try to be polite and try to be nice to people. She was honoring how she really felt, and she really led with that. And so she started doing the things that she wanted to do, and she started to receive more respect on her office job that she had been with for so long. And now she's down 60 pounds. She ended up going into CrossFit now. Like, that's crazy. She said that she just was not feeling herself, and she just one day saw a sign that said she should try a CrossFit class for free, and she did. And so it's been a regular thing for her now. She's down 60 pounds, and she said she never would have thought that she would have done this in her latter years. As she said, like, I don't feel that she's older, but she feels that she was older, and she just wasn't in the shape she wanted to be in. So it just naturally happened. Like, it naturally happened. She allowed herself to be led. So she does CrossFit now. And now she's getting all these other people, her family, her friends, they're asking, like, can you help me with my fitness journey and all of these things? So now she's saying she doesn't really see anyone her age in this industry from where she's from. And so now she wants to be a personal trainer, and she's been studying for that. And now she has this potential SP from the CrossFit gym that kind of talks to her more. And, he asks for her number. So she said that things are just falling into place for her. But when she just chose herself and she stopped thinking about like what it should be with this SP, and she stopped waiting on him or something outside in the 3D to come to her in order for it to make sense for her. So she just allowed, by practicing non-reaction and holding on to one ideal of what she thought things should unfold as, and it literally just is unfolding for her. And it's been really effortless too, the way that she speaks on the phone. Like, the anxiety isn't there anymore. There's this deep trust that she knows that she's the source. And through actually allowing herself to be guided by her higher self, she's entered into things and states that she never thought that she would be able to, embody. And that's what I want you guys to understand, because what we think sometimes for ourselves is just the floor. Sometimes we're thinking so low that it's just the floor. And sometimes we're holding on to old circumstances, old people, because we don't think that there's more, or we're not sure of like how great or how much more our lives can be. But when you're not holding on to a particular way and you allow your true nature to shine through, who knows the opportunities that will be presented to you, because now you're holding more space within yourself, that you're aware that all things can exist and you accept it all, the possibility of all of it, that things will present themselves that you never thought that you would be able to do. Like my client here doing the CrossFit and all these things, she never would have thought that that would happen for her. And so she's just feeling this overall respect. And she said it's mainly because she has chosen herself instead of trying to choose to manifest a specific person to make her feel like she was worthy. She was constantly choosing herself and didn't react to anything that was showing her the opposite. So this is one reason why I always share with you guys to never force anything, or to never be so hell bent on one specific thing happening, or getting an apology, or doing all these things, because the one who already has is experiencing their desire and they're not trying to figure out the how. So she literally moved over into that state of thinking from that version of herself that is always choosing herself. And she literally did end up choosing herself, and then choosing the best things for that version of her that is always chosen. So it just naturally unfolded through her. That higher self moved through her, and she just went with that flow. And so I want to share my other client, well, my friend here, the one who manifested that princess treatment. If you guys haven't watched that video, I really love her story and how it's unfolded. It's pretty much like a fairy tale, one of those Hallmark fairy tales. So I will link that video down below if you haven't watched it or listened to it, because it's so amazing. But basically, we got to chatting yesterday, and I'm just so amazed at how her life has unfolded for her. And she shared with me the most new thing that she's manifested, which, if you heard in that last video, that she wanted to go to Paris because she ended up like starting to bake, like learning how to bake as a hobby, that to just to get back to herself. And now she said that she's making great money with what she does, her blog, her Pinterest, all these things. And she said she's looking to move to a bigger city, and it may be New York. And she's building a following more overseas from France, is what she said, by practicing pastries and making them the French way. So she's been offered from hotels. She's received offers from hotels, chocolatier brands, all these things over in Paris, that they're going to fund her a trip to go over to Paris pretty much in December. So she's going to be going to Paris pretty much for the free, because she said that she just allowed herself that, what if I was going to Paris? What would I be doing? She would be baking. She would be wanting to learn how to bake and all that. So she didn't wait till she was actually over in Paris to start doing it. She got the inkling of, well, let me just figure out and learn it here and share it, share my process. And so now she's gaining an actual following from where she may eventually want to be. And so she just allowed herself to be carried through, like her whole story. She stopped. Same thing with the SP. She stopped waiting on him to come back, stopped waiting on things to change outside of her, and she just decided she was already that person. And so now things are unfolding for her without her having to physically look or physically try to do the work here. And so these stories have been very effortless, the way that they've unfolded. And I really want to share with you guys in this section how to go from wanting something and needing something into having. And I remember I shared it on another video where I talk about, in this reality, what most people teach is the being, doing, and then having. A being, doing, having, to me, really keeps you in the middle, just like we talked about, because you're trying to figure out, what do I need to do? What do I need to affirm? What do I need to visualize? What do I need to do? And thinking about all this doing, am I doing it right? Am I like, all the things that we tell ourselves and that we do when we're focusing on trying to change that version of us who is coming from lack, and they only know lack, and then we're trying to say something's wrong with that version, and that version needs to change, and the whole story needs to change, without realizing that that story is perfect for that one who has that certain identity that they're not. But you would have to see that if you are feeling as if that you want that version to change and you're dissatisfied with your life, that should tell you that you have already moved into another state by realizing that that doesn't agree with you anymore. But it's the thinking that we have to fix that version of ourselves and change it, and manipulate the whole story and everyone in it into a new story, instead of knowing that all stories exist and moving your awareness into the center or the sea of all the possibilities, to know that if you just decide to light your own self up, knowing that you're the source, you're going to be led to the best possible outcome, instead of trying to figure out what that specific outcome will be. You don't know how much greater your story can be, or what the next version of you, or the elevation, or the transcending version of you wants to experience next. And so that's why I find, with people who move from this perspective of not trying to figure out the hows and rearrange things, and take their attention off of what is, and not trying to change, not trying to revise or do a technique, it is like, in ways, like the ways and the things that happen to these people, of how their story unfolds, like, it's, you couldn't even just imagine how it happens when you choose you, instead of trying to choose a specific outcome. So like I said, when we're saying, in this perspective, I want you guys to think about having, being, having, and then doing. Because if you are already being the person who has, You're going to naturally do the things that come from being that person who has. And it's not going to be anything that has to feel forceful that you have to do it in order to get. It's just the natural state of being. Just like my client was, she just naturally got into CrossFit like on her own. Like it was just like something she was led to do instead of like, I want to lose weight. So now I got to figure out how. I've got to figure out how to diet. It's just she naturally fell into it by assuming that she was choosing herself, and what would that look like if she was her best self, and she didn't judge and try to figure out how. It just unfolded. So the first tip that I really want to give you guys that I saw that they've done, like the parallels in both of their stories, was they just focused on the present moment, and they focus on the present moment as if the past never existed. And this is why I always say that when you are deciding to be the version of yourself who has your desire now, and if you're thinking from like imagining or affirming that you have your desire, you must do so in the present moment as if the past didn't even happen. As if you're now the person who's always been the person that has had your desires. Sometimes we bring what all the things, the arguments with the SP, the money problems, we're bringing them to the present moment while we're affirming, while we're visualizing, while we're doing all these things, and we're considering it that it must be probably solved or somehow fixed before we can adopt that being, that person who already has the desire. So that's what keeps us tied up into those old stories. But what they've done was they were just focused so much on themselves. And with that attention minus effort, that least amount of like forcing, there no forcing, just observing within themselves what state they are abiding in, what thoughts are appearing, and do I want to accept these thoughts or no? So instead of them making it about a SP or a certain goal, they were just looking at, well, where am I residing? Like, where is my energy placed? And they just kept lighting the fact up of knowing that I am the source, that I have all things within me already. So I don't need to try to force anything to happen. I just keep my awareness on what's going on within myself and not 3D focused. So it was very intentional in how they did that. So the first thing they did was focus on the present moment. And also, like, wanting to change or convince that version of you to work, to do some sort of work or change into being. And I feel like this is why so many struggle with routines and habits, because it's the demand and the belief that this current state, like, you don't accept it. So you're thinking you must change it instead of choosing to be the person who already has. And so again, the one who has, they're not figuring out the how because they're basically having their desires. They're experiencing it in the present moment and within their imagination, and giving themselves their own desires. So that's why I feel like when you consider a past, or consider a past from any reality, when you're in the present moment, thinking as if you're somehow connecting them together, or you're claiming that old version of yourself still that feels that it needs to change. So it really is about abandoning that old self, dying to that old self, and being brand new in the moment when you decide that, I'm going to be who I want to be. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to acknowledge that I already am it, and not put your focus on anything outside of you, because again, it's not your responsibility when you're being the person who has their desires now. So the second thing that they did was they focused on their state of being. So for my friend, the one that manifested the life of princess treatment, hers was, I now live a life fit for a princess, or I live a magical life. So it was just the state of being on being someone who's living a magical life, a life fit for a princess. And she didn't have any expectations on how that was going to look or how that was going to come, or she wasn't trying to figure out like how she was going to get the money to live the luxurious life she wanted to live. And in turn, she found things that she liked. And so she doesn't have to necessarily do any work. What she does is have fun. So she basically gets paid to exist and gets princess treatment everywhere she goes now, because now she's thinking from the state of being someone who has that desire. So she wasn't very particular on how it needed to unfold it, but it just showed itself. It revealed itself to her. So she just trusted that if she focused on keeping her excitement and her attention on being the person that can see magic everywhere, that she was surely going to see it. So that's how that works. You're not trying to force a certain way or it has to be this way. It's just looking with that expectancy that your life is now this way. So no consideration of the past again. And so my new client, the one that I'm sharing with you guys now, she was her story was that she never had anxiety and she was always chosen. So she was just always healthy, always secure, and always chosen. And so the more she chose herself, she naturally chose to do the things that she had been wanting to do for so long. And she thought that if she were to hold on to that specific person, that that was saying that she was good enough and chosen. But she didn't realize that she was choosing a form or someone outside of her instead of choosing herself. And so once she chose herself, she started doing all the things that she's been wanting to do. And so now the world is choosing her. Now the opportunities are choosing her. The things that she never thought she would be able to do are choosing her. And so now a SP is coming forward that is choosing her based off of who she's being. And so it's happening for her. It's showing up for her by just her being aware of her state of being someone that's chosen. And she's consistently doing the choosing instead of letting the world decide if she's chosen or not. So it's both of these are a complete shift to inner focus, inwardly focusing on your state of being and on your imagination and what you're doing within yourself when you're imagining, when you're speaking. Are you speaking as if you're not that person trying to get there, or are you speaking from the end, from the state, living from the end, deciding to see the magic wherever you go, deciding to see that you're chosen wherever you go? And so that's the difference. And then the third thing that they did that I saw that was really amazing was they did not judge the human experience, because they both said to me that they realized that there was nothing to do, like that there was nothing to do or nothing to change. But whenever they felt the emotions throughout this whole process, they still allowed themselves to have the human experience, but without judging, like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be crying. I shouldn't be have anxiety. They just allowed it to exist, but they did not hold on to the experience that they were having and making it mean something, that no, I'm not getting my manifestation, or no, he doesn't love me, or whatever it was. It was just, I'm just experiencing these emotions, but I still know that I am the decider. I get to choose what I want to experience. So they just placed no value on what the human experience and the human emotions were doing. They were just like, I'm just here to have a human experience. So it's the acceptance of all possible realities, that all emotions are welcome to exist, all possibilities are welcome to exist, and that they're not shunning any version or any part away from themselves, because all of it is who they are at their core. Like, it's not affecting your awareness, who you really are, that formless awareness. It's never happening to that part of you. It can never touch that part of you, but they just realize that it's just an experience that passes. But when we stay and we link onto it and we're like, oh my gosh, this means something, I got to figure that out, then now we're buying into this world of form where we're allowing this 3D world to run with us and to tell us what we're feeling and what we're doing. But it's holding that control within yourself, knowing that, hey, this is just an experience, but this does not mean that this is who I am, because I am the source of all things, and not this human emotion is not telling me who I'm being. It's just a emotion that's passing. So there was no judgment on what they were thinking or what they were feeling. They just allowed it to exist, but still remained in the end of choosing who they wanted to be. And the last thing that I want to share with you guys, because this to me was really something that I just realized when I was talking to my friend. about her manifesting her princess situation and all just the parallels of these two, and even with my own life, as I share with you more and more why this unfolding in this way to me is just so effortless. And what they both did was they did not add anything to I am, like not doing things to get. Like it was more like this taking away aspect, taking away, removing who you're not. Because there was so much with my client, the one I worked with for a few months. There was so much anxiety and feeling like she needed to add more affirmations or try to figure out something to make something change. But once she stopped and allowed it to exist, it started removing itself. The anxiety started leaving. The feelings of I am not worthy, I am not chosen, like they left on their own, because you realize that it's an illusion, that you are just buying into an illusion. And if you are the I am, then you have everything already. So it was just this realization for both of them of realizing that they already had their desires within themselves. So they allowed the natural undoing of, if they didn't try to touch the thoughts or say something was wrong with this thought, or try to add or flip a thought or try to add something on top of, like, I'm not. And then you're like, no, but I am, I am, I am. And you're adding and you're stuffing that, but you deep down feel that you're not. And so instead of adding anything, they let it be revealed. They let the best possible outcome be revealed to them. And just the way that it's unfolded, like I said, sometimes you're not going to know exactly what it is you truly want or what you're being called to experience next, because we think it's about going back to the way that things used to be, or trying to fix what was before, or try to catch the feelings and the moods of great times before. And it's not about that. It's about honoring all the experiences and still transcending, moving on to a greater experience, more of an experience that lets you know more of who you are, the fact that you can do more, be more. It's about knowing that you're limitless and not trying to stay just in this little bubble that you think life should go in, but to put you out there more, to be like, hey, there's more, there's greater than you ever could think to have, more than this. It's just, hey, that you don't know that this is also another option too, or this over here, or you haven't met all the people that are going to love you, you haven't met all of the versions of yourself that have all these interests that you don't even know right now from where you're seeing, because you're seeing through this one little filter and you think that this is it. But once you go into the center of your reality, knowing it's that one I am that's doing all of the work through you and showing you more of who you are, that you are limitless, then you'll know that it's not necessarily about trying to fix things to be a certain way. It's about just knowing yourself, because how else would you know that you're a source of your life until you do all these amazing things, until you look back and say, like, man, I remember when I used to live that life. It's going to feel like you lived about 10 different lives, because you have. You're looking back and saying, I've lived a full life. I lived a life full of amazing experiences and transcending into more. And then you just realize it's more about the experience of being I am, instead of collecting and getting all these things and trying to make a picture fit. It's about knowing that that whole picture for all the experiences that you have fits together to be like, wow, I am is limited, unlimited. It's not just this one like little life. It's very unlimited and it can go and be anywhere. And so you free yourself more and more, and you free others more and more, and you get into the flow of life and allow for amazing surprises to be there, an amazing life to be there. And so I really do find this way of, instead of wanting things to be a certain way and getting into having, it's about knowing that you have all desires and can experience all desires. There's a certain magic, a certain like undoing, like the what we think we're trying to add on to. I hope you guys get what I'm saying here, but what we think we're trying to add on to, because you can't add on to what you already are. It's about revealing to you more and more, undoing the layers or the lies or the illusions, to realize that this has always been it. Like this just is. I am just is. And there's many experiences that are welcome. So it's about loosening your grip on having things be just a one way and just going out there to know that you're unlimited. So that's what I want you guys to know, to get out of wanting into having and stop trying to figure out what to do. Then like you're really just focusing on the now moment. It really is all about the present moment. You're not trying to change anything. Like you're focused on your state of being. You're not judging any experience that you've experienced before, and you're not adding or trying to add more to yourself, but you're learning that you are all things. So it's this undoing of all the illusions in this world that try to tell us what we are, or we're trying to make up or figure out what we think we are, instead of knowing that you're just unlimited. So it's really about the undoing and of the all the I am nots and the illusions and the falseness, to reveal the fact that you've always been there, and that you've never left that heaven, and you've never left your desires never left you. Like you've had many experiences. So it's about waking up to that. And so I hope that this video really, I intend actually that this video really assisted you and opened you up in some way. And it really just expands your thinking into the fact that there could be more possibilities that you haven't even considered, because you're just thinking that this one little thing is going to make you happy. And you're here to experience way more than what you're giving yourself credit for. So I just want you guys to know that. I intend that this video helps you. If you would like a session with me by phone or email, get down in the description box below. If you're listening over on my podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow for more exclusive content. And you can find extra videos over on my YouTube, which I'll link in the description box below. And yeah, you guys, imagination is always on your side, and I am too. Bye.